Hey guys, it's Ivy, and today we are doing the Writer's Life for Me tag by Sarah Ella. Sarah Ella did this tag quite a long time ago, but since I'm just jumping into the booktube world, I decided to pick it up because it looks really interesting and it looks like a lot of fun, and I loved hearing her answers, so hope you guys enjoy my answers as well. What kind of a writer are you? I am a historical fiction, contemporary fiction, what's the other one called? Bibliographical fiction? What's it called when you write the story of someone's life but you fictionalize it? That's what I am, whatever that is. And I've also done, I've written a dystopia. I kind of jump all around genres, and that's okay. I know not all of them are going to be published, and I enjoy exploring different genres. So the one thing that I really haven't explored that much is fantasy. Not for any reason other than it's not at all how my brain works. I leave that to the incredibly creative people, and I stick with other things. Why won't this go down any? I want it to go down. There we go. That's better. Today I am wearing my OEN Winter Workshop outfit, which I don't know if you can see. It says Joy Makers, and that was the topic of the 2016. No, it was 2017. Okay, whatever. 2017 One Year Adventure Novel Conference, and I just love it. I love that that was my first conference. I love the people. OEN is amazing. Second question. When did you start writing, and what made you want to try it? I don't remember a time that I didn't write. I distinctly remember being about 7 when I started keeping journals regularly, and those journals were more fantastical, whatever. Fantastical? Words. I remember whenever my family would go on a trip, I would record my memories of the trip in the journal. And I think it was after when I was 9 and we brought my sister home from China that I really wanted to write down that story. So I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I changed everyone in my family's name and I wrote that little story. It did not get very far, but it was fun. And that was really my first venture into writing fiction. I was around 12 or 13 when I seriously started writing and realizing that this desire to write was not something that was going away anytime soon, and that I needed to do something about it. So that's when I really started writing. That's when I wrote my dystopia. I wrote a dystopia before it was cool, just for the record. And I love that book. I still hope to publish it. Of course, writing it when I was 12, it is 100% rewritten. The story is barely the same, but the characters are still the skeletons of what they were. They're just now, there's skeletons in there. They're just very much more fleshed out. What inspires your stories? The biggest thing that inspires my stories, honestly, are what-if scenarios. It often happens where I will see people usually and think, oh, what if this happened to them? Or, oh, what if I can't think of a scenario. What if I had gone to the grocery store instead of going to the thrift store? How would the day have been different? And I don't know why I think like that. I don't really know anyone else who thinks that way. But most of my stories start out with a, what if this happened and this character was affected in this way? And so my current work in progress was inspired by that. It was, what if a 17-year-old girl had this happen to her? What would the next 6 months of her life look like recovering from that? And that's how that book came to be, and all of the little plot twists in that story have come from what if scenarios. So I guess I'm a what-if writer. What themes do you like to explore in writing? The theme I find myself returning to is ordinary people making extraordinary decisions. And I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I do a lot of things, but that is the recurring theme. Normal, ordinary underdogs that have to make a big decision, and what happens. So I guess that's that's probably the biggest theme I explore, and there's always an aspect of faith or Christianity in there somewhere. It might not be there in the beginning, it might not be there in the end. I usually try to make it be there in the end just because I like happy endings. Are you a pantser or a plotter or a little bit of both? I feel like I'm more apt to be a pantser. However, I have learned the value in plotting. And so I kind of find myself now being a mixture of both, not because I want to, but because I know it's better for me if I do. Kind of like taking vitamins. You don't like them, but you know they're good for you. So I feel like doing both that's not my natural tendency, but I have learned that it's very valuable. Where are you in your journey? Querying, agented, or published? Because I'm an indie author, I'm kind of a combination. I have 2 books that are published independently. I'm currently pitching a novel to agents and editors, and at the same time working on another book to self-publish. So I feel like as an indie author, having those options is amazing because it lets me do things on my time, and yet when I want to query, pitch, try to find an agent, it allows me to do that as well. So I love it. It's the perfect mix for me, and I understand it's not for everybody, but it works very well for me. Have you ever entered any writing contests, finaled, or won them? Yes, I have entered writing contests, and not specifically like writing contests, but book contests. I've submitted my books to contests. I have not won anything yet. However, the publicity that comes from entering a writing contest, even if you don't win, is pretty amazing. I got a 5-star review from Reader's Favorite on one of my books, and that alone has boosted sales a lot. So even though that was an incredibly expensive contest to enter, it was well worth it. So no, I have not finaled or won, but I got a 5-star review, so that's pretty awesome. Who are your writer heroes? This is a tough question because I am not the type of person to put people up on a pedestal. I don't really, like, I'm not a huge fangirl. I don't, like, obsess over people or things, or bands or TV shows or anything. I don't know why. It's not that big a deal to me. I mean, it's cool, but it's not a huge deal. So I don't know if I would say I have any, like, heroes. Writers that I admire are Louisa May Alcott, C.S. Lewis, I think of some more. Some other writers I admire are Nadine Brandes and April McGowan, and I am blessed to have both of those ladies as my mentors, and they are amazing. So I greatly admire them. I love how much I'm able to learn from them, and it's just very cool. Have you been to a writing conference? Share your best or worst experience. Yes, I've been to a couple writing conferences. I don't have a worst experience. It's pretty much awesomeness the entire time. I think the best experience was when, well, there's a couple, but the one that I'm thinking of is when I was at the OEN conference where I got my shirt, and Nadine Brandes was there, and I got a hour-long mentor session with her. And during that mentoring session, I asked if she would be willing to be my mentor. And I was 100% expecting her to say no. However, I figured it did not hurt to ask. And so I did, all the while shaking in my boots, and my voice cracked, and I was so nervous to ask. She was so sweet. She said yes before I even got the question all the way out of my mouth, and we've just been friends ever since. So I think that was probably one of the best, that's actually probably the best writers conference experience I've ever had. Another best experience is at the Oregon Christian Writers Conference that I went to in August with Abby from The Left-Handed Typist and Emily. And everything about that trip was just amazing. It was so much fun. one of my favorite things is that I got 2 whole mentor sessions that time, and I only got one of the mentor sessions because someone else had scratched their name off the list, and that was with Tessa Afshar, whom I greatly admire, and that was pretty phenomenal to be able to talk with her. And she challenged me in ways that I've not been challenged before. She was so encouraging. It was amazing. Just such a God-filled session, I guess I would say. So that was really neat. Top 3 tips I would give to newbie writers. This question is so hard, and yes, yet it's a commonly asked question. One thing is, don't settle. If you know you can make your story better, then do. Don't try to rush the process, but also do the best you can at not being perfectionistic. Does that make any sense? Probably not. We'll move on. Second tip is get an editor and pay them to do their job. Get more than one. That is, I cannot stress that enough. That's what sets not professional indie authors apart from ones who really, really try to do their absolute best. And being in the indie world, I get to see the differences, and even being an indie author, I am so much more apt to pick up a book that is well edited, is well written. And I know part of that is personal preference, but typos are distracting. Yes, they happen. They happen in published books also, or in traditionally published books also, but you can avoid it. You can take steps to caution against typos, and I feel like that is absolutely invaluable. And editors, you can find ones that aren't super expensive. I understand being on a budget, but it's not hard, and it's very important. The third thing would be protect your writing time. And this is something that I still work on a lot, but if you're serious about writing, it needs to be a priority, and it needs to be your job. You need to protect the time that you have to do it. And I'm speaking to myself here just as much as any of you. That's very hard to do, but it's important. That is it for the Writer's Life for Me tag. Thank you, Sarah Ella, for the fun tag and the fun questions. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye. I'm gonna sneeze. Or not. Allergies. Oh my gosh, this is so bright. I feel like I'm gonna go blind. Bright. And the third thing is protect. Okay, take a minute to breathe.